Look, brothers, completely crazy. Let's see what that craziness says. Look, we have a site that says, Ask the Rabbi. Ask your question to Mr. Rabbi. Let's see. Can the current Palestinians be compared to the Amalekites? Or has Amalek historically disappeared as a people? I speak literally, although I know that all those who oppose the Jewish people have the same spirit of Amalek. The rabbinical response from these rabbis, Rabbi Chaim Frim is giving the answer. Here you can find it on this site. It's called .org, the Amalek of today, the answer. Except for the people of Israel who remained united. Since their creation, the peoples named in the Torah, for the most part, do not exist, including Amalek. The spirit and influence of its characteristics remain, which are found in many peoples, but especially in religions such as Islam or Christianity, which always persecuted the people of Israel. Palestinians are not a people, but a name given to the Arabs and others who lived in the Middle East in the Ottoman Empire, then British. If you see someone who has irrational hatred for a Jew, simply for being Jewish, that is Amalek of our time. Why would I hate Jews? It's crazy. We don't hate anyone. What we detest is killing the innocent, the children. Let's continue. Let's see what the rabbi says. As the Rebbe says, as you surely know, Parashat Zachor, which is read on Shabbat before Purim, contains the commandment to remember what Amalek, the arch enemy of our Jewish people, did to our people when they were on their way to receive the Torah at Sinai. The stealthy and unprovoked attack of Amalek was calculated to shake their faith in God and dampen their enthusiasm for his Torah and mitzvot. Mitzvot are the rules of halakha, the obligations of the Jews, what they have as norms. That's called mitzvot. But Amalek, in a broader sense, represents all the obstacles and challenges that a Jew encounters on their path to receive and observe the Torah and the mitzvot, the rules they have to follow. For example, they consider the construction of the third temple as a norm, even though it's not in the mitzvot, but they see it as a religious obligation to reconquer all of Jerusalem and drive out all the Arabs. Imagine that, it's crazy. With enthusiasm and joy in daily life. And so, Parshas Zachor comes to remind us and never forget that the Amalekites exist in every generation, in all days and times, and that we must not allow ourselves to be discouraged or disheartened by any Amalekite in any form or format. Do you see it? So it's clear here we can see that Amalek always exists, and they are enemies of the Jews. So how should we treat the Amalek? I mean, nowadays they consider everyone living in Gaza as Amalek. How should we treat the inhabitants of Gaza? It's dangerous, brother, what they say. It says the parasha of the week, Parashat Zachor, Deuteronomy 25, from verses 7 to 19. The specific Haftarah, 1 Samuel 15, from verse 2 to 34, deals with God's command to King Saul to destroy the people of Amalek. Do you see that? Let's see, you type in Google Parshat Zachor, which is, let's see. The additional reading is called Parshat Zachor, and its content is commandment to remember the evil of the people of Amalek and the obligation to annihilate them. Listen, he says it's a part of halakha, it's a part of the mandatory norm. the obligation to annihilate them all. Imagine, it's dangerous. Let's take a look at this text. Shabbat, February 20th. This is for the text. After Parsha, which corresponds to the week of Truma, we read from Parshat Zachor, Deuteronomy 25, verses 17 to 19. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you left Egypt. You shall blot out the memory of Amalek. What Netanyahu is doing in Gaza today will erase the memory of Amalek. Now they say, who are the Amalek? All the inhabitants of the race are saying, so since they are dispersed, we need to eliminate all the people of Gaza. Imagine the reason why Hashem God commanded the Jews to erase the existence of Amalek is because of the hatred that was instilled in them against us, to the point that they were the first to confront us in war, and not for defense or for territory, but just out of hatred. And now they say the agenda of Gaza is not about defending their territory. I saw it, for example, on the Israeli television channel. One of the representatives was saying, no, it's that the people of Palestine hate us. But why do they hate you? He's not crazy. No, they want to defend their territory, not for anything, nor for defense. It's that they hate the Jew. What kind of crazy person can say that? They say, no, it's that they have hatred. They're anti-Semites. That's why they're Amalek. What should be done to Amalek? There is an obligation to erase it. Their existence, erase their existence, freely translated and adapted. Rosh Chodesh Adar, 2nd, 5738. As you surely know, we have read it from there. So let's see. Now that we are on site, Biblioteca en Línea, the Watchtower online library of Jehovah's Witnesses, to see how they are interpreting the sacred text. Are the Amalekites a lesson for God's opponents? Why are the Amalekites of interest to us? Because they would become chronic enemies of God and his chosen people, which was Israel. At that time, ancient Israel. The way God dealt with these Amalekites is of interest to all men and nations, because it provides a model. Look at how the leaders of the US are thinking. This is it. Why do they support Israel? And you know that Israel is killing children. That's why it says this provides a model for the way he will deal with his enemies today. Today, do you see it? Today, the origin of the Amalekites is in Genesis 36:12, it's Amalek as the grandson of Isaac. Well, now we are looking at Rabbi Shamuel Eliyahu. It's a tweet from Abu Israel Judaism. The war against Hamas is a Milhemet mitzvah. What is a Milhemet mitzvah? A war against the nation, a war against Amalek, and a war to deliver Israel from the enemy, Misham Torah. What it means today is that the war against Gaza, against Hamas, corresponds to a mitzvah, which is a commandment, a norm from God, according to them, according to the Jews. They say that this is the war against the 7 nations. Milhemet mitzvah. And that the war against Gaza, against Hamas, corresponds to the war against Amalek. What should be done with Amalek? Eliminate their existence. Imagine that. So, according to Rabbi Yosef ben Solevitz, the verdict of the Arabs in Gaza is like the verdict of Amalek. The situation of the Arabs today in Gaza corresponds to what the Amalekites were, and it is required to oppose the commandments related to destroying Amalek, destruction of the Amalekites. There is the command to wage a war of destruction against those Palestinians. This means that today we have the command to destroy them. That man who is an ally of Netanyahu, Rabbi Shamuel Eliyahu, his son was a minister in Netanyahu's cabinet. There it is, Jewish Link, December 17, 2023. News from Israel. Jewish Link says, together we will overcome. It says there that the Israeli minister suggests dropping an atomic bomb on Gaza, and it is suspended by Netanyahu. Why, Netanyahu? Why do you tell the whole truth? Shut up, you idiot. And who is his dad? Shamuel Eliyahu. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, suspended the Minister of Heritage, Amichai Eliyahu, the son of Shamuel Eliyahu, interessante, from cabinet meetings due to his comments about Gaza, reported the Times of Israel. In response to a question about whether an atomic bomb should be dropped on Gaza after the Hamas massacre on October 7th, Eliyahu replied that this is one of the possibilities. Netanyahu rushed to condemn the comments because he says, we're erasing them from the map. But you don't have to express stupid. But that idiot expressed it. The words of Minister Amichai Eliyahu are disconnected from reality. Yes, it's disconnected from reality. Yes, we are watching. They have wiped a race off the map, and I am disconnected from reality. Israel and the IDF are strictly acting in accordance with the highest standards of international rights and ethical practices. Today's joke: to avoid harm to those who are not involved. For example, these children who died were involved. Israel drops a bomb and the child himself dies. It's not Israel's fault. I don't know why you all don't understand it. I mean, Muslims have a terrorist idea, and they can't understand that Israel, with all its love, drops the bomb. The bomb arrives and it doesn't intend to kill but only the terrorists. But that smart, wise bomb arrives. But the child who is stupid comes to die. The child is the fault of the child. The baby, that baby who is in his mother's arms. Israel no longer wants to kill those who are not involved. But we don't forget when Sharon is the embodiment of evil on earth, the representative of Satan on earth, who was called Ariel Sharon, the murderer of the Sabra Shatila, decía. He said, we have to kill all their children. Why? Because they are the future terrorists. So they justify it. They say, high standards of international law. And international law allows genocide. ¿Permite genocidio? Interesting. So, to avoid harm to those who are not involved, more than 13,000, 15,000 children who died or were involved, or it was their own fault. It's not Israel's fault. It just drops bombs out of love. We will continue doing it until victory, he emphasized. It's very interesting, that shamelessness. I mean, if you wanted to know what the word shameless means, just take a look at the latest statements from Mr. Netanyahu. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant wrote on Twitter that Yahu's statements were unfounded, and he added that it is good that these people are not in charge of Israel's security, because that person is telling too many truths. Poor thing, he told the truth. Later, Yahu clarified that it's clear to any reasonable person that my statement about an atomic bomb was a metaphor, because now the truth is unnecessary. It's a metaphor. We've dropped so many bombs, we've thrown so many, that it was 20 times more than the nuclear bombs dropped on Japan in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. 20 times more. Bombs and tons of bombs dropped for every kilometer of Gaza. They've already wiped it off the map. It's clear that for anyone who already knows, but we definitely need to give a powerful and disproportionate response to terrorism to those children, to make it clear to the Nazis and their supporters that terrorism is not worth it. This is the only formula that democratic countries following, Netanyahu says, international law standards. That terrorism is no longer worth it. This is the only formula that democratic countries with bombs can use to confront terrorism. We come. We usurp their territory. When you come to defend your territory, you're a terrorist. We kill your child. And that is high standards of the United Nations. Interesting. The time of Israel, Rabbi back remarked by his son, a far-right minister, that knocking Gaza is an option. He has already given that news. You can see it. So let's see what Alejandro Rodriguez de la Peña says on Twitter. Netanyahu has compared the Palestinians today to the Amalekites from the Old Testament. Against them, Erem was decreed, the anathema, the holy war of extermination that included women and children, and a concerning analogy that I hope isn't revealing of their plans. Joram Hassoni says Netanyahu at the press conference knew the enemy is Amalek for Israel. This war is about whether Israel exists or not. This war will be long and difficult. It is just beginning. This is Israel's second war of independence, so it's already very clear. He says, if you are Palestinian, you call for an oppressing, you are calling for genocide. If you are Israeli, you say the enemy is Amalek. Kill every man, woman, child, according to Torah. Then you killed 16,000 Palestine. It was December 7th. Now more than 30,000 in 3 months. You have a right to self-defense. That's called self-defense. Imagine, let's see what it says here. October 31st, 2023. Remember what Amalek has done to you. Netanyahu compares Hamas to the rival of the Israelites. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addresses the media during a joint press conference with the French president in Jerusalem on October 24, 2023, comes more than 2 weeks after Hamas terrorists broke into Israel from the Gaza Strip, killing over 1,400 people, injuring thousands, and taking 222 people hostage. That's what Christian Post says in Spanish. So there we have Israel National News talking about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been Mordecai on this subject. The Republican Party in America is saying that Ayatollah Khamenei is a Haman clone. Ayatollah Khamenei is Haman from the Bible that they have to kill. It says here that Senator Schumer and Senator Mendes recognize the two hopefully more Democrats will come to a similar conclusion. Perhaps even a congressman during reminder of the Purim story will change his mind. He says that's the story of Purim. Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran today, represents the evil powers of Haman, which in the book of Esther says that we have eliminated the Iranians. And Netanyahu always says in his words that Iran is Amalek today, so we also have to eliminate Iran. What it says is that Iran is today Amalek. There it is. Call Live, it's another news outlet. Published on December 17, 2023, stating that Benjamin Netanyahu said Iran is Amalek today. There you can see the Amalekites and the territorial maps in the Bible. So, to conclude, dear brothers, from what we've said, they consider the Palestinians to be Amalek, and what the Bible says is to eliminate all Amalek, including children, women, and men, and to destroy their homes. That interpretation is quite dangerous, and it's unfortunate that at the UN, among others, what's it called? International identities. They are so useless that they are watching Palestine and all this violence, this genocide, and they say nothing. I believe it's time for the people of the world to rise up, to take to the streets and raise their voices for justice in the Holy Land, to put a stop to this genocide, this slaughter of children and women, what's happening in the Holy Land. And we all have to do something for Palestine. God bless you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.